It's going to be about tips and tricks for people with Asperger's. So yeah, I have a list here. Post-its, by the way, is really, you get post-its. If you have Asperger's, your mind is kind of a mess and you need post-its. I guess that's tip number 0 because it's not on the list. Anyway, tip number 1 isn't a tip, so screw that. It's a lot of people asked me how to get the diagnosis of Asperger's. Simply how to get the first step done. And it's very simple. It's just that I don't know how to. I didn't do it in Sweden. I did it in Sweden, and I don't know how other countries do it. You simply go to a psychiatrist and tell them that you think you have Asperger's, and he will give you tests, and then he will tell you if you have Asperger's or not. It's as simple as that. And the tests are pretty much... I might look it up and post it on the thing. There are different personality tests that rate your personality in the different ranges to see if you have the quirks that Asperger people have. Like, do you like hang out with people? Do you have a fascination for certain interests? Other tests he does might be memory tests or logic tests to see how well you think, since Asperger's people usually think more than others. And it's very interesting to do those tests. They're fun and challenging, so you should go to a psychiatrist and get the diagnosis, is my point. Point number 2 is simply nosce te ipsum. I don't know Latin, so I probably didn't pronounce that right, but it's know thyself. It's extremely important to know who you are and how you work. For the simple reason that who you are and how you work is different from how other people are and work. You need to know what makes you special and different. And you need to know what kind of quirks you have so that you can work against them or with them. Like, you might be a bit OCD about things. And if you know that, and you know that it is an OCD, obsessive compulsion disorder, that's it. If you know that, then you might be able to stop doing it or think about it when you do it. That's very important. Tip number 3 would be to know everybody else. Because with Asperger's you do a lot of things different from other people. Especially when it comes to instincts. And if you know how normal people work, psychology, then you learn a lot about yourself. Like facial expressions that normal people do, that you don't do because you have Asperger's. I guess it's a part of point number 2. That if you know other people, you will know yourself, because you're quite different. Point number 4 would be no self-loathing. Because if you know yourself, and if you know everybody else, it's very easy to get depressed. Because yourself and everybody else suck. That's just how the world works. And there's no point in getting depressed over it. Because you can't do much about who you are, can you? You can change how you act, but that doesn't change who you are. So if you are who you are, then be that. I've personally had depression for several years in my life, and it's not fun. And the thing that the upturning point was actually getting the Asperger's diagnosis done. to know that I wasn't a freak. That's kind of it. I'm not a freak, that's the thing. That's the point. So you don't self-loathe, because thinking you're bad makes you feel bad, and it makes you act and be bad. And that's not good. Point number 5 is don't let other people push you down. It's very easy as an Aspie to get bullied or misunderstood by everybody, and don't let that get you down. For me, it's very hard to understand people. I don't get them. They do things that I don't understand. And you need to learn that they feel the same way about you, and they might not understand you. That's okay. Just don't let them get to you, because other people's morals and way of thinking shouldn't affect you as an Aspie, because they don't have anything to do with your mindset. Just trust me on that. Tip number 6 is actually a tip for once. It's simply to get a hobby. Something you enjoy doing. You have to feel productive. That's the main point. That's also to ward off depression, mostly. Because if you work with your hands, you don't get depressed as much. It's actually a fact. It's also... people with Asperger's like to fidget with their fingers. So if you have a hobby like origami, for example, you have something to do with your hands and it relaxes you. Because when you do something with your hands, your brain relaxes as well. Tip number 7 is one of those tips that really work for anybody. But people with Asperger's need tips like this in order to not get down, which is the main problem with Asperger's. I don't have a problem with myself. The world has a problem with me. Tip number 7 is simply anger, depression, sadness. They mean nothing. They are emotions. You as an Aspie have the option to turn off emotions, or at least ignore them. You have also, most of you, have strengthened emotions. You have emotions that's stronger than normal people. And you save the good emotions, but the bad emotions you ignore. What's the point in having bad emotions? As an Aspie, you can do that. I can. Barely. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but you know. Tip number 8 isn't really a tip. It's a friend of mine who told me, but it's a quote, so I guess she didn't come up with it. But still, she said it to me, and it's very true. Be who you are and say what you feel, because the people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter. That's all you need to know. As an Aspie, you usually feel outside, like you don't belong. And as, for example, my brother might go to parties and drink alcohol, and might behave like a normal person when you're drunk, and you might try to ignore your feelings of hate for the world. But don't ignore that. Those feelings help you grow as a person. You are who you are, and you cannot change who you are. The only way you can grow as a person is to know who you are as a person. And for a normal person, all of these points would be kind of mute. They would be good points, all of these tips. But as an Aspie, you kind of need to keep yourself in control, because you're a bit of a train wreck, aren't you? You might be okay with it yourself, And that's good, but you might not be very productive in the society. And you don't need to be productive in the society, but you need a job and money and all that crap. And in order to get all that crap, you need to be okay with yourself, know who you are, and you need to be able to control it. I usually look at people like big malfunctioning computers. That's how I see people. And Aspies are no different. And all you need to know is how to use the computer. That's it. That's all I had to say, really. So, bye.